The show has been on the air since the September before last. It'll be our second birthday this September if all goes well. And really the only regret that I have about the time we've been on the air is that as we've been on the air, on TV, conservatives and particularly elected Republicans have become less and less likely to agree to be guests on this show. Now, I honestly don't think it's because this is an unfair venue or that I'm an interrupty pants screamer who's not going to let them get their point across. I think it's because the media is as polarized as politics, and that makes it really hard for me to convince conservative newsmakers to come on the show to talk to me. Though I do keep trying really hard. Senator Bennett, call me. But when Sharon Engel's political career ended last night on local television in Nevada, it was a perfect case study in what happens if you don't ever talk to people with whom you disagree. Because here's the thing, when your positions are never questioned, you're never forced to develop strong logic to back them up. When your arguments are never challenged, you don't ever have to improve them. You don't ever have to cast out arguments of yours that don't make sense or learn how to deal with evidence that appears to contradict your conclusions. That's why I regret that we don't have more conservatives on this show. Because I do have a point of view, of course, but I like talking with people with whom I disagree. Both because it is fun and selfishly because it makes my arguments better. On the right, the downside for conservatives of there being a huge prefab conservative media infrastructure is that conservatives grown inside that bubble sometimes cannot survive outside it. Do you want to see what that looks like?
You have an interesting view, actually, about jobless benefits. And I want to show people what you had to say in what is now a celebrated interview about jobless benefits. Listen to this.
You can make more money on unemployment than you can going down and getting one of those jobs that is an honest job, but it doesn't pay as much. And so that's what's happened to us, is that we have put in so much entitlement into our government that we really have spoiled our citizenry and said, you don't want the jobs that are available.
So you're saying that these tens of thousands of Nevadans, they're sitting on their couches, they're all spoiled, they don't want to go out and get a job, and I'm going to cut off your benefits. That's your attitude toward these.
No, come on, John.
But you said they're spoiled.
Well, I said that it had spoiled our citizenry. That's a little different.
It's almost like it hadn't occurred to Sharon Engel until that moment that trashing the unemployed in the middle of the biggest economic crisis since the Great Depression maybe isn't the best political strategy among a number of other problems with it. But that would explain why the best she could do rebuttal-wise was, when I said we're spoiling the unemployed, I didn't mean the unemployed are spoiled. Don't take me out of context. But if you thought that didn't make any sense, get a load of Sharon Engel's take on the separation of church and state.
What about separation of church and state? You know, that is in the Constitution. The Founding Fathers believed in that. And you know what? Back in 1995, when you were on the Nye County School Board, you came to the legislature testifying a school choice bill. And here is what the minutes say. You said, the bill is exclusionary of many private religious schools, and Ms. Engel believed that to be an un-American concept, and the tenet of the separation of church and state is an unconstitutional doctrine. The separation of church and state arises out of the Constitution.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, the Founding Fathers didn't believe in the separation of church and state? The Establishment Clause, the First Amendment?
Actually, Thomas Jefferson has been